All right, there
Wait,
we go. Huh?
what's the episode? What's the
54.
episode number? Okay. Hello, Pebbles across all
54, I
platforms.
told
Welcome
you.
to the Idiots Podcast, episode 54. Yeah, 54.
Yes. Okay. Let me share screen. Show what I'm eating today. Lady Stone made a delicious dry brined chicken. So I paired that with I cooked some of the potatoes and onions in chicken fat from the cooking process, and it turned out delicious. So I just put a little balsamic drizzle on there. But
I love how there's always the
Balsamic
diaspora
drizzle.
between, like, you've always got like the hearty Viking meals, and I've got what seems to be the vegan health nut meals, and I'm not a health nut.
what are you eating?
I have more of the crab salad, like the on the lettuce, like it's a
Oh,
right
thing you
above,
made.
it's actually the visual right above you.
Thing you made before.
Yep.
Right.
I made
Right
it
now,
before.
I am eating toast, like toast
Toast?
bread. Toast bread, hummus, and some veggies that I cut, and also put like some balsamic, like vinegar drizzle on it. So hell yeah.
Interesting combination.
Man, it's my own fault. I finally found where the Old Bay is kept at my local Kroger. So
No, so you can give it a little more crab seasoning.
thank goodness, yes.
Well, that's good.
It's the first time I've
Right.
gone to a Kroger and Old Bay is not in the seasoning. It's right next to the seafood, and the person's like, "Well, it's next to the seafood." Like I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it's next to the seafood. I should know that. All right.
But before we get started with the topic, in other news, Kratos, my man Kratos, just took a W in Death Battle.
Oh well, you watch that. All right.
Yeah. And Kratos beat Asura, which I knew he would. So
Oh, that's an easy win.
Okay.
yeah. So bam, Kratos for the win. Honestly though, I think Kratos' next opponent should be, what do you guys think, Wonder Woman?
I mean, she's near a god, so I
Yeah.
would say yeah.
Yeah, and they're both Greek.
She's near deified. It's in this. It
Mhm.
would be in the same universe.
Yeah, so again, like I said, also both Greek, both wielding the same kind of round shield. It'd be a perfect death battle.
The only
That
thing
and a
that
lot
would
of
trip him up is if he gets lassoed and he has to spill the beans. I
just
want to go home and be a farmer.
you mean a father?
There. My parents never loved me.
He can be both a father and a farmer.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, Kratos' new iteration is as the God of Peace, so we'll see if when God of War 6 comes, if he's doing any farming at that point.
Relapse.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Anyways, so let's get into today's topic. Today's topic is about more or less how a lot of entertainment companies these days, they're just not putting out a lot of good content. Just flat out. They are just not putting out their best. And when I'm actually got some guest videos on my friend Jamie Snowden's channel. By the way, you guys should check him out.
Give me a link and I shall.
Yeah. But a lot of this is, we were looking at like what came before and what's happening now. And a lot of this comes from just not taking any risks, and it's because can you name a new show or movie in the last 10 years that really took a big risk that came out of Warner Brothers or Disney, aside from Endgame?
Oh. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
That pushed the envelope. In
Yeah.
Western media, not many.
Yeah. Endgame is like literally the only one. And even then, it was still the culmination of 10 years worth of storytelling that was planned. It was planned from the start. And so anything between in the last 10 years has just not tried to push the envelope at all. It's been a sequel, it's been a remake, it's been yet another movie installment in the same franchises, and it's just been kind of meh. And I've been wanting to get down to why exactly this is. It's like, why are companies doing this? They're not trying anything new. And so I looked at, the old Cartoon Network, aka the golden era of Cartoon Network. And I think we can kind of agree that golden era was probably from about 1995 to 2005, correct?
Oh, yeah.
I was a
And
4-year-old
2000
baby at 2005. I don't know.
They have the reruns. They have the reruns
Yeah,
then,
you
but
might be too young for
2005
that.
I think is even still being generous
What?
because 2005 is still being generous, considering by I would say early to mid 2005 with Cartoon Network. By then, Toonami was already going away or
Yeah,
had gone away. I have to look that one up.
it's
But
when the decline started,
yes,
but
then that's why I'm saying it's kind of being generous. 2004, you're in a solid window right there. I agree.
mhm,
And
I would still put it at like a 10-year period of 1995 to about 2005.
yeah, because after that, guaranteed, you have most of the good storytelling.
Mhm.
I do argue it's good storytelling. Was coming out of South Park.
Yeah, well, I mean,
And
that's the thing. South Park still puts out hits because
yes,
Matt and Trey basically have full control, and those guys are out and out artists. They try new things. All Morocco, shush.
well, they push the envelope. They try new things. They stay relevant. Nobody is off limits for the ire in their universe. They will poke fun at anybody. And they are, I guarantee they have a team of lawyers in there that gets plenty of practice for defamation lawsuits, and nobody has seemingly gotten a good grip on how to deal with them. And it's now just kind of become the hallmark of your career is to be made fun of on South Park. That's how you know you've made it. So as long as they keep doing what they're doing, I think South Park is in the clear. But then you mention them having full control on their creative works. The opposite can be said of Star Wars. As soon as George Lucas sold it, and to this day, I've yet to find a viable answer that satisfied me as to why he decided to sell it.
I think he just wanted to retire. He just they gave him a shitload of money. He's like, yeah, why not? I'm done.
And if that's it, like that still really doesn't satisfy me at all. And I understand it, but I'm not satisfied by it because as soon as that happens, you watch the mouse come through with foreign investment backing and a ton of politicization from one side or the other to try and ram a message down your throats. And that's what Western media has become. It's no longer entertainment. It's now send a message. What was the game that just got dragged through the mud recently? All it was big ole.
Which game?
Oh, I'm trying to find it out. It's a big word. I'll have to look this up in one of the sidebars of it. This game came through and was basically like kind of like Borderlands, but think of everyone was either LGBTQ, minority, handicapped, uber diversity.
Right.
And I think one of the perks you had was triggered, right? Where, well, I'm triggered now. So you were able to verbally assault local authorities like the police. Another one was race card. You could play the race card in the game. And a whole bunch of these other things. The whole premise of the game in the beginning of it was, hey, it's a new take on Borderlands, and people kind of started watching it. And then the game comes out. This thing got rated at half a star, and they were still trying to sell it for $70. And
Mm.
then the production company
Made
came
it.
out and said the reason the game failed is because the people that were supposed to play the game and like the game are stupid.
Did not.
And
Oh,
gamers,
Okay, fine.
gamers are racist, gamers are sexist, gamers are stupid. And I went, you're a game production company. And you're now attacking your
Hmm.
client base. It's like if Ford or GM or another automotive company came out and said, people that drive cars are idiots.
Yeah, and after
Well,
they
why is
put
no
out
one
a
buying
lemon,
my car?
basically.
Or Gillette. In 2010, Gillette. Oh no, I was in the military at this point.
Mhm.
2013 or 14. Gillette drops a commercial during the Super Bowl talking about how men needed to be ashamed of who they were, and if you grew a beard or had a mustache, you were oppressing women, and that therefore you
What?
with Gillette would be more effeminate and not as threatening, and you should be ashamed of your masculinity.
We'll let
Yeah.
that slide. What?
They ran that commercial for 3 days,
Yeah,
Okay.
and they
That's-
aired it. The first one was during the Super Bowl. Holy
that's how a lot
cow.
of it's been going, And
And
if it's not a direct insult, it's just mediocre. And if you
intensely.
point out that it's mediocre, then they still say all the pejoratives, you're racist,
Yep, they
sexist,
come and
all
attack
that
you. You didn't like my stuff, so you're an idiot.
stuff. Uh-huh.
And modern media isn't the first one. I first experienced it with writing and with traditional art. You have writers will put out these books that, I'm sorry, are at a 5th grade reading level, and the big critics come out and say, oh, it's a miraculous work, it's a wondrous work. 50 Shades of Grey, a miraculous and wonderful work exploring the boundaries of relationships in the grays of the subservience and master's relationship, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Anyone who knows anything about that kind of culture looks at this book and says, this is disgusting, horrible, and abusive. And the person
Yeah.
who wrote it has no idea what they're talking about. But then if
Eh?
you say that, you're attacked.
Yep.
All right,
Really?
cool.
That
Mhm.
that book still has like the defenders that praise it, like for being like.
Intensely.
It's a- Wow. Okay, those people need a new hobby.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I found the book horrible. I found the movie disgusting. Because it psychologically I could go on about how that the book and the movie are damaging to the culture of that
Mhm.
diaspora. Because when I was in college, I actually did a paper on the community, on the S&M community. I did a paper on them
Mhm.
for humanities and psychology and things. So I was brought into that world as kind of like an outside view to take a look at it, and the lifestyle and things like that. Never took part, of course, or anything. I was excluded. I wasn't part of the community, but I got to meet a lot of these people that are taking part in it. So I know from what I was able to learn from those communities and then look at what's there in culture, it's horrible. I know a great majority of people that are in that community absolutely would not care for that kind of material, and they found it very damaging. So people have the wrong idea about what that community is about, and it boggles the mind that
Mhm.
you have the staunch defenders are going to stand there, and it just kind of becomes this stance where even if people don't like something, they're going to defend it because that is the correct thing to do. It is what is expected, and it's going to get them, I guess, social points,
Mhm.
and then they're going to do it. Kind of with going back to
Okay,
video games. People play certain video games because they're expected to play those video games. I
I mean,
think
Oh.
that's
that's
why
an
Call of
older
Duty and Modern
entire
Warfare are
customer
still
base at this
popular.
point.
The games suck, but people play them because everyone plays them. Well, the only
Yeah.
reason everyone plays them is because you're expected to play them. They're subpar games. They're horrible games.
Well, this
Oh,
is
it
like I
really
said.
avoids me.
This is the story of Blizzard's entire IPs they're working with. Like on top of this, Blizzard has not put out a new IP since Overwatch. They have not put out a new IP since Overwatch, and they haven't even put out a new game since Overwatch 2. And Overwatch 2's rollout was lampooned like crazy because they made it so that you can't even play Overwatch 1.
Yeah. Nobody knew Overwatch 2. When I say nobody, I'm talking the major consumer base.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, everyone that was at the release video, all the streamers, anyone that was in the media marketing departments, anyone that was quote unquote in the know or in the inner working society and are in that high gamer culture knew Overwatch 2 was coming out and praised it and were foaming at the mouth and ripping their clothes open going, yes, thank you, Blizzard, so much. Thank you for Overwatch 2. You're amazing. I love you. And then maybe 8-9 months later, people are going, I haven't played the first Overwatch in a while. I think I'll play it again. And then they find out I can't play it anymore because the second one's out.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're saying, there's a second Overwatch. I didn't know about this. Because the people that are supposed to be bankrolling that company did not know, did not care. And now a good, I would say 30% of the consumer base off of the original market are not playing it.
Yeah.
It's like crypto games. There's a crypto game called Off the Grid that I was alpha testing, beta testing for a while. And it was doing okay. Then they made some changes in how they were responding to issues with the community, with the crypto wallets, and other things. As soon as they did that, we watched the PC consumer base drop in Off the Grid. Console consumption went up because the console players were saying, well, now that the PC gamers are gone, the console players have a better chance.
Right.
Then you have the quote unquote pro crypto gamers came back in and started absolutely crushing the console players because you have a very distinct advantage in that particular game on PC. Many games are the same, but in this game, there's a major difference because there's legitimate money involved because you can earn crypto in the game depending on how well you do.
Right.
So now you have people that are losing financial gain console because you have people coming in on the pro side and absolutely crushing them. And they've the developers have done nothing to date from last October to remedy this and try to retain their consumer base.
Mm-hmm.
So the term rugging is coming up now. They're rugging the player base.
The shitcoin rug pull, basically.
Yep, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But with a video game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And maybe we can expand that to Call of Duty Black Ops. We can expand that to Modern Warfare, where you come in and you're expecting, hey, you know what? The last 2 games were crap. They're promising they're coming back to what it used to be. So I'll drop the $90 on the new game. You buy it. You play 10 minutes of it, and it's absolute dog crap.
Mm-hmm.
How much is $90? Wait, I need to check.
In New Zealand, I think it's $135.
I'm not from New Zealand, bro.
Oh, I mean,
Anyways, let me
trying to
just...
remember.
Check. It's from
US dollar
Czech
to
Republic.
crowns.
I forgot.
$90 is okay. 2,175 crowns.
Yeah, Kron. Is it crowns or krona?
It depends. I mean, I guess like the official marking is the CZK, which it is Karuna, but you can call it a Czech crown.
Oh, okay. Well, I will say
next
this
week
then.
it's gonna be
The
Groshen
Hugo
when we
games.
start doing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
That's what I was doing. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We have that one. I've already pre-ordered that one. I am so happy.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm gonna be doing an all-day
Here we
stream on
go.
that one for my
We'll go.
birthday.
Enjoy the
will-
Chichachik.
Yes.
And I don't play it in English.
Oh, you play it in full on Czech.
I play it in Czech.
Damn.
Yay.
I play it in Czech with the English subtitles, of course, so I can read what's going on. But I listen to it in Czech
Huh.
because, oh my gosh, because that's a whole region and period of history that I love. Like that.
Neat.
That is a whole spot. Like, so the entire thing of like in Wenceslas, when I played the first one and they were talking about Wenceslas, I leaned in physically and watched the opening for the first time and said, oh my gosh, they're actually talking about Wenceslas, because I know people in the West have no idea that that was a real person. All they know is the Christmas song. That's it. They had no idea about the political crap that was going on in the Bohemian states. None of it.
Oh,
So,
the
Bohemia Games,
yeah, the political crap.
but
Mhm.
Bohemian Games, I think, is a studio that knows exactly what to do and how to deliver.
Right.
So there's a contrast. You're looking now with Kingdom Come Deliverance, the first one, and now the second one, which went through some minor delays, but now they're coming off with it and saying, all right, we're ready to go. We fixed what we wanted to. We have everything going. And they have a very clear focus. And I think that's where Bohemia Games is differing from other people in the industry. They are a mission-driven, product-focused developer. They say, this is what the project is. This is the vision that we have going forward. Here's how much we need. And then they just go. And they listen to the developing testers. They could have easily told the testers, we'll fix it later. They could have easily said that, but they didn't. They held back. They took a little bit of the heat, but unlike other developers, their consumer base, the people that are going to buy this game or have now pre-ordered the game, are looking at it and saying, we appreciate the fact that you're not going to release something that's unfinished.
Yeah.
That's where they're different. Whereas, look at Marvel Rivals, very popular right now. They are constantly having to rebalance everything. Many of
Are
those
they?
types of games.
Lol.
Oh, yes. I think every 2 weeks they have to rebalance at least 1 to 2 characters.
Luckily, I
they're
don't play those
constantly.
games.
Yeah. And they'll retain my attention. For me personally, they'll retain my attention for 2 to 3 weeks, and then I'll struggle to get back in.
Mm-hmm.
I really will.
Like a lot of those popular games that go off like that, I don't even get into because I know they're just gonna, go off the track in about 2 or 3 weeks anyway. But back to the main point. Like I said, a lot of what's going on in a lot of entertainment these days, whether it's video games, unless they're a relatively new company, or movies or TV, again, it's all effectively just custodianship. It's not really like trying to create something new, because like a lot of the video I've written for Jamie is that it's basically because he wanted to know like why exactly Warner Brothers made so many cuts after David Zaslav showed up, right? And and it's like, how much is this him? How much was this already planned? And a lot of it is him, but here's the thing: it's not like a lot of the content he cut was necessarily bad, because from the crib notes of the Batgirl movie that basically got shit canned. That movie was practically ready to go, and it got shit canned as a tax write-off. And from the crib notes, it actually didn't sound that bad. It actually sounded pretty decent. But Warner Brothers is like, nah, we'll just write it off as a lost tax write-off so that profits look bigger. And that was basically David Zaslav's call.
And the producers decided to go ahead and greenlight the
Ezra Miller Flash movie, which is just like nobody's going to see that given what he did.
No.
And that ended up being a loss, but David Zaslav decided, apparently because it did better with test audiences and they already sank too much money into it, to greenlight that anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's the
the
main.
other issue is now you have an industry that is more concerned about. You see the same thing in the weapons industry.
Oh, the
Um,
weapons industry.
oh,
Oh.
okay. So here's the funny part. In the entertainment industry and the weapons industry, you see the same issue. The argument of we have already spent millions or billions of dollars on this project.
Mhm.
We have spent too much for it to fail. So we're going to spend more money until it succeeds, or we're going to go ahead and release it and make whatever we can to offset the loss because we've already spent so much on it.
Right.
You see
Mhm.
this all the time with entertainment, weapons, food products. Here's a good one. Budweiser. Do you know what Budweiser's move was shortly after the can debacle, after
Oh.
Cangate?
Oh, with Dylan Mulvaney and
Wait,
everything.
what?
Mm-hmm. So here's what Budweiser did. So mind you, Budweiser is no longer an American company and has not been an American company since I want to say 2003.
Right.
Anheuser-Busch was no longer an American company, even though they call themselves America's beer. Shortly after Cangate, Anheuser-Busch went and bought two separate frozen food companies and started integrating Budweiser into the beer batter for these frozen fried foods to try
Uh-huh.
and sell that to offset their losses that they were experiencing in the beverage industry. However, because it had the Budweiser logo and emblem on it, no one bought that either.
Dang.
So you lost money on your sales because you basically looked at your consumer base and said, screw you. You looked at women and said, screw you. And then you went and spent money on a company and said, well, we're going to buy this company and then we're going to put all this into marketing and research and then we're going to release all these food products and then those are going to die off and we're going to lose more money that way. But they have yet to walk back anything.
Right.
And right now, I was sorely tempted to buy in on Anheuser-Busch because at one point it was very much within my market profitability margin for my portfolio. And I'm really glad I didn't, because if I had bought in, the last I had checked, if I had bought in at the level I was at, I would be so far in the red, it would not even be funny right now.
Dang.
I would have lost so much money if I had bought in. But it's again, they're throwing money at the problem. And this is what happens when you have boards of directors that are so separated from not just the product, but they're separated from the consumer and they're separated from the market. They're just looking at their data sheets. They're looking at, did we make money? Yes or no? They just look
Yeah.
at quarterly profits. That's all they care about.
Yeah, like I
They
said,
are,
it's custodianship. It's not actual like being an entrepreneur.
oh,
And yeah, it comes from a bunch of people in middle management becoming part of these boards, and that's all that ever concerns them. It's not anything that's like they actually want to create something. This is why, like, I get it, why everyone looks back at, CN City, which was on Cartoon Network, and all the little novel little things they had as like interludes between shows. We're like, this was amazing. Why didn't they, keep this going? And I get it, eventually novelty wears off. But at the same time, they didn't replace it with anything. They got rid of
yeah.
it and replaced it with nothing, you know? And so naturally, it's just like, why? It's like, because it might have been a little bit too expensive to produce. And it's like, because it takes up ad time a little bit. And it's like, so you're still getting more people to your network to watch. And it's like, again, it's just someone who got rid of that, looked at a balance sheet and decided to axe it. That's it. That was
Yep.
the core of the decision making process there. And
Or even
that's becoming the
when you're trying to greenlight a show, nowadays. I can't remember who the actor or the director's name was. I wish I could so I could credit them. There was an interview with someone. I think it was actually someone with that works with Vivzy Pop on Has Been Hotel.
right.
So nowadays, according to the interview, the par for the course now. If you're trying to stream, be it Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Amazon Prime, they want to know the entirety of the first season and how season 1 ends and your plans up through season 3 or 4. Because if they cannot retain, if you cannot retain people all the way up into to the end of season 1 and have them back into season 2, they will not watch more than 4 seasons.
Right.
Because if you run longer than that, then people that jump in by season 3 or 4 are not going to want to watch the first few seasons to come in. That's why a lot of people are scared of shows like One Piece, because of just the sheer volume of the show. So that's what they're looking at. They won't highlight new shows that are going to go into the long run and hold these long built audiences. So, I mean, that's why Game of Thrones was such an outlier, because you had multiple seasons where the fan base grew and grew and grew and grew, and it was a water cooler point of conversation in a lot of places. You had Stranger Things as another outlier. A lot of people came into that show and just became completely invested in it. Now you're seeing a lot of shows, in particular, are 1, maybe a partial 2 seasons. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you're not
True.
seeing a lot of
Hmm.
shows come out now that are going to run longer than a season. And the ones that you want to do multiple seasons will not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is not
That's a shame.
just a Western issue. We're also seeing this coming out of Japan. Now,
Yeah.
what they've done with, say, I know Katakura Studios does this. They will run an animated season of a show. And then, if you go to try and find additional material, they will not do animated shows, but they will do serialized releases with the manga. And they will do, say, DVD releases of
Yeah.
OSTs. That's it. They'll do one-shots. But they will not do shows.
Mm.
So they'll do 12 to 13 episodes of something that's a manga. Then anything that comes after that is only in the manga. Like the show I'm a Spider, So What? They did 16 or 17 episodes, including the OSTs, and now everything else is a manga. That's it.
Pretty much. And like I said, it's, in Japan, it's largely because I think this came from some studios getting a lot of flack for having way too much filler content. Or, a lot of shows like Naruto and Bleach are like some of the worst offenders. Because Bleach, Bleach got outright canceled because it had too many fucking filler seasons. And on top of this, and so the last thing they did was basically just wrapping up the final chapters of the manga years later. And again, it's because, they just didn't want to leave unfinished business, which is understandable. But at the same time, it happened in the first place because of that. And that's the thing. I think what needs to happen is this balance between, risk-taking and, some amounts of custodianship. Because there is something to be said about, it being a good idea to ensure the ship keeps running. Because too many bad mistakes can pile up and just ruin you, But at the same time, it's like, if you don't try something new, eventually you're just going to keep going at mediocre, and then every mistake now and then that's unavoidable is going to eventually bury you, because eventually you'll just be slowly managing your own decline effectively. You're not really, trying anything better that's going to improve anything.
No.
And that's
You
the
put
main
it really dystopia, like dystopia, but yeah, that's the basic.
Yeah,
basic
I mean, it's
idea,
just,
I guess.
I don't mean to be dystopic about it, but that is the case.
Look
Yeah.
at
Like,
who's the
know.
studio that did Helldivers? Oh goodness.
I
Well,
don't know.
the studio that came out with Helldivers.
Helldiver.
There's a studio that worked on a project and they
Arrowhead.
embraced. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so there's a studio that embraced their community. took risks on how they were going to approach the game, and they also took some major risks on their marketing strategy, and they took some major risks on how on the nose a lot of their references were going to be when they were creating this product, because you're not shying away from the fact that a lot of this is infringing on potentially infringing on another intellectual property. We all see it. We all see that it's Stormship Troopers with a different coat of paint. There's no hiding it. Then the studio also fully embraced their community.
Yeah.
They love their community. They are engaged with the community. Now, of course, middle management comes in, and they're the ones that make that whole decision about, well, the only way you're going to play this game is you're going to have a PlayStation Network account, and we're sorry for the 60% of our consumer base globally that is not going to be able to play this game because PlayStation is not allowed in your country.
Oh, jeez.
So that was, you saw the sales dropped. People were full refunding the game. The ratings were getting changed. Ratings for the game were being changed from, say, 4-star, 5-star reviews to 1-star reviews. And so the bar graph was showing, say, positive building up. Then as soon as that PlayStation thing came down, it went straight red. I think a week, it was a 1-star game. It was at the bottom of the pile on Steam, at least. Now, credit to the developers. They took that graph and turned it into a graphic that is then, they turned it into a graphic that was then applicable to your character as a cape that showed the horrible ratings. So they embraced their mistake and said, here's what we did. We messed up. We screwed up. We accept that we...
Pause for a sec, Rabid. We just... Sakari Melodious just joined in. Hello, Sakari.
What are you? Oh, they're muted.
Oh, okay. Oh, no.
Oh. Sakari? I can barely hear you.
Yeah, that was a squeak.
Hang on, I'm DMing her.
Oh, yep. But that was a developer that they took their mistake and they accepted it. But what a lot of people also took away from that was there was a major separation in between the people that were quote unquote in charge and the people that were making the game. The people that were making the game were more connected to the community. And the folks that were making the game fought very hard against their bosses. So there's a risk. It's not a risk that we as a consumer are going to see, but that's equivalent to us going to our boss and saying, we are not going to continue working for you en masse unless you change corporate policy.
Right.
We will walk. That was the conversation allegedly in some of the departments. We will walk unless you change this. And corporate backed off. So the players won, the artists won, the consumers won, everyone except corporate won. Yeah. And I think that's incredible. Then you have people that are higher up that are more connected that I think we need to give some credence to, because we've said a lot of negative about the people that are higher. Sven Vinke from Lyrian Studios, his speech went viral for good reason. The man
I have to check out that
owns
speech.
and runs. Sven Vinke owns and operates Lyrian Studios.
Mm-hmm.
And he came off and, I'm paraphrasing, said, the game company that wins the next Game of the Year award will not care about profits. They will not care about data metrics. They will not care about corporate profits. They will only care about making a good game that is fun to play, and they will care about making games for gamers. That's it. It is that simple. It is so simple that we have forgotten it. And it is brilliance. It's pure brilliance. And if you, because I've gone on his Twitter page, Do you know how many pictures of this? This is the guy who owns the game studio. He goes full LARP, like plate armor. Okay?
Huh?
Sven Vinke. Vincke. The
Never heard
owner,
of them.
yeah, he's the founder and CEO of Larian Studios that made Baldur's Gate.
Oh.
He goes off in full plate armor, like LARP mode, just all over his Twitter page. The man is a nerd. And I love it
But in all the best ways.
in all the best ways. That's the kind of person you want running a game company. Just like, and I'll take flack for saying this, you want people like Elon Musk running tech companies.
Yeah.
The man is a dork. You want him running a tech company. That's exactly where he needs to be. He's a perfect fit.
Because he, again, tries new things. He
Yep.
tries to, take risks. And that's the thing. You can say, well, he's, not as knowledgeable on, technology as he claims to be. Right. But he knows just enough. But at the same time is willing to take risks on just what he knows.
Exactly.
And again, those risks pay off.
And if he gets called off, like when it came to SpaceX, one of the literal rocket scientists was there, I guess, on camera and said, sir, you can't do that. And here's why. If you tell someone like that, we cannot do something, the first thing they're going to ask is why not? You cannot approach someone that's in charge with that mindset and say, no, you have to say why. And you have to have a very good reason why. Because if that's a good boss, they're going to look at you, hear your reason why, listen to your solution, and then it is up to them to make that corporate decision, that executive decision to say, you're right, let's do it your way. That's a good boss. A good boss will hold back. A great boss will admit and say, you know what? Your idea is much better than my idea, and that's why I hired you. A great boss knows how to find people that can do what they cannot do.
Yeah.
So
And
that
middle
goes
managers
everywhere.
won't do that.
Exactly. And
All middle-
it's all over.
But or did you? Okay, well, basically, all middle managers know how to do is where to make cuts. That's all they know how to do. Is they know where to make the cuts, and they know how to basically greenlight just good enough, effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had this thought this morning. Like, one of the biggest sins of the sequel trilogy of Star Wars is that it's just so mediocre. That is the biggest sin of it, is that it's not anything that's, so laughably bad. I mean, to me, Last Jedi is that, but to other people, it's just space adventure. And even then, it's like, so that's your thought of why you don't think it's bad. It's because it's just a mediocre space adventure. And it's like, okay. Like,
Spaceballs did a better job than The Last Jedi.
exactly. Yeah. So it's like, it comes down to this, it's like, so your mindset was not to take Star Wars in some radical new direction. It was to basically just take it in the exact same direction it's been, but race and gender swap everybody. That's it.
Mhm.
It's
Well,
like,
you have, in addition to that, you had the middle managers went out because middle managers, I guess, in the film industry, those are going to be your producers.
Yeah.
Right. The producer, as a producer, my job is to make sure I pick a good director for this film.
Mhm.
I need to make sure that if I'm not the one that's doing good casting, I need to make sure that my casting director knows exactly what I'm looking for in specific roles.
Right.
And when they come to me with this casting list, I am greenlighting them and saying, okay, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. When as a producer, I come through and I tell my casting director, hey, I want a white girl to do the lead. As a casting director, I'm now sitting back here going, great. Are we talking like a Ripley's an alien white girl? Are we talking Sarah Connor and Terminator white girl? Or are we talking white chicks white girl, like the
Right.
cop movie from the early 2000s? What are we talking here? And if the producer comes back and goes, doesn't matter, then I'm not going to care. As a
Yeah.
producer, they needed to have had a full vision. Now, casting wise, I forget the actor's name. She could have done a great job. She really could have. But now that comes on to the part of the director. The director, I feel, did not have a clear vision with what that story arc was supposed to be, period. Now you look at the script, because that's what the director's using. So then who do we blame? Do we blame the writer? Do we blame the producer? Do we blame the casting director? Do we blame the production companies? Do we blame the studio? I say we blame all of them, because no one seemed to talk to each other in pre-production. No one in post-production saw anything that was cut together and say, "Oh, I don't think this is working.
Yeah.
We need to rethink this project." Because it comes back to, how much money did we send on CGI? How much money did we put in on travel? How much money did we put in on the cast? How much money did we put in on the user rights to Lucasfilm and to Skywalker Ranch? They spent a ton of money before that film was even edited. And then editing alone,
Oh, wow.
that's
Okay.
more money. It costs so much money to edit a film, like a 2.5 hour film. That's millions of dollars for an editing job. And then you're not even looking at the marketing campaign that they did, because now you're also talking merchandising, to quote Spaceballs again.
Right.
They spent millions more on merchandising. They spent so much money, they couldn't afford to pull the plug on it. And then they got the false feedback from the media saying this was an amazing movie. So then anyone that would have even had that thought in the back of their head saying we could have done better had to stay quiet and say, "Oh, now we're stuck on it. Now we have to do it this way." So then when you get this whole ending of that trilogy saying, "Oh yeah, she's the granddaughter clone thing of Palpatine."
Yeah.
Like, all right, time out. You could have easily, if you knew this was which to me, it felt like they didn't know. The writers didn't know. They had to come up with something. It felt like that to me. Because if you look at the first movie, it felt like it was going to be more focused with the stormtroopers.
Well,
To me, it felt like
that here's
was
the
where it
thing,
was
right?
supposed to
My
be.
biggest criticism of Force Awakens is that it's just a lazy copy paste of New Hope, and with a few things changed.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: I can get behind. We're gonna have this being a commentary of like, this is history repeating itself, and how do we stop this? And that's what it seemed like it was building up to, and then because they didn't rein in Ryan Johnson for some reason. He just tossed all of that out the window in Last Jedi.
Yeah.
He just completely sandbagged that.
But look at the other projects that came out around that same time. You had same producers, or you had some of the same producers there, but you had totally different directors and totally different casting companies and different writers on Solo and Rogue One. They were completely different writers and they were completely different producers for the most part. There were some similar producers in there.
Yeah.
Those two, I feel, did a very good job. Solo did well because you had a character there that was a known character with lore. You had a base of the story, was a known character, and you had the risk of ruining the character. So there was pressure there. Rogue One is the one-shot filler to let you know how they got the plans. And it's also, you could argue, the first time you see Vader. So
Arguably, yeah.
they
And on top of this, it
delivered
has
on
one of
Rogue
the
One.
best Vader scenes ever made.
Yes. Oh my God. That is it is the best Vader scene, I think. They've done in a very, very long time.
Hmm.
And they executed it beautifully. Rogue One, I think also they took a lot of, because I think it was Dave Filoni, I think was the director for Rogue One, wasn't he? I have to look it up.
No,
It
who's
feels like Filoni.
no. Hang on.
Hang on, I'm looking it up.
Let me take a look here.
Rogue One. Gareth
Uh,
Edwards.
yeah, Gareth Edwards, and Gareth
Gareth
Edwards is
Edwards.
very competent.
Yes. Him and Dave Filoni do very, very similar work, and they do very well.
Yeah.
Now, when you have those two, Filoni was a producer on Rogue One, so they were working together on this. So when you have fans get their hands on it, you can feel the joy, like the excitement of a director on
Yeah.
those projects. You can absolutely get that giddy feeling off of it.
Again,
Ron
it feels
Howard,
like
by the way,
everybody's
did
on the
Solo.
same page here, and
Yeah.
that's what makes it work. And again, it was one of those few times in the recent time where that's the thing. Rogue One wasn't a huge risk. It
No.
was still a lot of painting by the numbers.
It
But at
was,
the same
I think it was
time-
risky because Rogue One is the darkest Star Wars movie
Ever
that they've made.
It is
It
the
is
ending is
brutal.
literally everybody dies.
Yes. It is a
Lord,
brutal
okay.
movie. It is a brutal movie. When
Yeah.
I watched it, my heart was breaking. I was crying.
Yeah.
Not a lot of movies will do that to me other than war movies. Rogue One made me tear up and cry.
Yeah.
I was heartbroken and on Rogue One. And then of course I got Vader at the end and I cheered up. So he delivered. Gareth Edwards is a director that 100% will pull the trigger on stuff that he feels he must do.
Yeah.
Despite what the producers and the studio tell him they want. And that delivers every single time.
Yeah.
And I love it when creatives do that. And you can even say,
it would have been a bad ending if Jin and Jin had
yeah.
lived. It would have been a bad ending, or if like any of the characters lived, because it's like that is such a cop out at that point.
It is. It's a cop out. You can look also at the new animated War of the Rohirrim. I finally got to see it. They delivered very well cinematically, but
story wise, it's one of
it was so lacking.
It was like the Hobbit movies in terms of the story.
Yeah, very much. They could have. I feel the writers could have delved into her more. They could have gone into the Shield Maidens more. And the reason I wanted to watch it was a lot of people were coming in and criticizing it, going, "Oh, it's a feminista propaganda movie."
Yeah, another girl boss. But
I went, where is it? Where's the girl bossness? Where is it? Because she doesn't have the woe is me mentality through the movie, because this is what that character knows.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she is dying inside because she is fighting against a childhood friend that she loved and could have seen herself marrying, because in the very beginning, spoiler alert, she would have married him, this antagonist, had it been his own volition. But because there's this whole political backstory on it, she feels they're both being forced into it, which is tearing her apart. And I liked that, and I wanted more of it. But if that movie felt like, all right, we're about to get to the precipice of it and we're going to deliver and we're backing off.
Yeah.
Like the writers were scared to go over that edge, almost like they felt it was taboo.
Yeah, because like I said, it's this fear to go all in and take a risk, you know?
And I understand, like as a writer myself, like I understand there are things that people do not want to read, that
Yeah.
people do not want to have written about or portrayed. I fully understand that. But also as a writer, there are things that you can write about very sensitive topics in a tasteful way.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. It takes some skill. It's hard. And it's hard on you mentally when you're doing it, especially if it's coming from a personal place.
Yeah.
Like I had a mental shutdown for about 2 weeks when I wrote one segment in my book because it was bringing up some bad memories. But if you cannot muscle through there and deliver it, you're not going to reach the full breadth of a story. You're not going to deliver the full potential that you can. You have to make that leap. You have to make the jump. Now, of course, when I took that manuscript and I put it up to the publisher, that was one of the places that was brought up in a conversation. They said,
Yeah.
where are
Where's
we?
the payoff?
Do we want to go with this? Where's the payoff with this? Can you explain more about this? And I justified it, and they were okay with it. They said, yeah, we appreciate you went with it that way. Just do a couple revisals and tone it down. And it's usually what they'll want. It's usually what producers will want or publicists will want. They'll want you to tone it down. So I did. I toned it down. And it still delivered. I got the message across, but sometimes you don't quite understand what someone else is going to see or take from what is written until they read it. But you're never going to know what they take from it unless you do it, unless you put it out there for someone else to see.
Yeah. But anyways, we're approaching that 1 hour mark, so we'll wrap it up here. Sakairi, if you're listening, you are allowed to talk in these. You're encouraged to talk in them. So feel free to join in. I'll DM you more if you're not listening, but anyways, or are you,
Oh,
That's
it's okay.
fine. You
It's
you get
okay.
like exclusive.
It's
Oh.
okay.
oh,
But
Yeah,
we want-
at least you're here, like, hearing it raw, even though Stone doesn't edit these, but still,
I
you're
do edit
you're here
them.
for the. I'm
Hmm?
then
my
show
beard
it.
is my makeup.
Then show it. Well,
Okay, then I might do a little bit more editing by editing game footage in as well.
like,
Because Hmm?
like
What?
have the audio like on the background of the game footage, because that was pretty, like, I think that was what people did, like, uh well, I don't know, a few years
People
ago.
still do it.
The Minecraft speed run videos where it's a loop.
Yeah, but probably not that. But at any rate, we'll open this up to closing thoughts. And I guess I'll start. The main thing I want to look for in terms of how we break this sort of cycle of mediocrity that a lot of entertainment is in is, I suppose, there needs to be a way for some kind of risk taker to break in. Because that is the big trouble, is that so much of these companies, not only do they have so much middle management in charge, that middle management commits itself to gatekeeping as well. Their goal is also keep new talent out, because if that new talent comes in and outshines us, they're going to take over and then they're going to muscle us out. They know that. And so they also gatekeep to try to prevent that. And it's a vicious cycle to try to undo. And we need to find a way to get around that in general. But that's my closing thoughts on it. Rabbit, do you have closing thoughts?
I would agree. Middle management is definitely a major contributing factor to the gatekeeping in the major professional industries. That was a big reason that I wound up shelling out what accumulated to somewhere in the scheme of 5 figures in self-publishing. because with the rough draft and everything else that I was doing with my very first book, the feedback, or mostly lack of feedback, that I was getting, it was definitely a matter of positive on the reception from the people that would be the primary contact, and then as soon as they would send it up to the middle before it would get fully approved, that's where it would stagnate.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it, for writers or for video folks or musical artists,
Any
I
creator
think any
specifically.
kind of creative, I would encourage, be independent, put your stuff out there. Don't let people that are in these positions of power to tell you no. There's always going to be a market anywhere,
Yeah.
and nothing is scarier than the first year that you're putting yourself out,
Yeah.
and it pays off. It pays off in the end. The first time you get a review or a response or a comment on something that you've put yourself into, and it's positive or even negative, it's great. It's a great feeling because that means people are paying attention. You know, uh, I've gotten some nice reviews. I've gotten some negative reviews, and I appreciate the negative reviews more because it's made me improve for what I'm working on now. And I think it's just like, don't be afraid of risks. If
Yeah.
you're making games, especially, don't be afraid to put a game out there that is gonna push the envelope or be new in a different way, because I'm running out of games and I want to play it. Like, just please
Well,
make the
Yeah.
game.
Play Rain World. It has a new character coming
Oh
soon.
yeah, I have that
Yeah.
one. I have that one on my list too.
But
I do.
Nate, now that we're on you, your closing thoughts on the whole thing?
I think that it's like a point that wasn't like brought up as until like I guess how now is that it's also like kind of sad if you're like the creator, because of course like you want to put your thing out there, but also like especially if like a creator is like plucked by a company and just put into the machine basically, and
Yeah.
yeah, and now they basically like kind of have to do what the masses want, and obviously what the management wants.
Yeah.
And sure, they can like still do like their full vision on the side, but then it doesn't get them as much profit as it would if they like listen to the company's wishes. And
Yeah.
that it's like this really shitty balance of like do I
I'm just sitting back
do I
here
want
getting makeup off my
to
face and
live
listening.
without like worry for finances, or do I want to just art forever? I guess I don't
Yeah.
know. Just yeah.
I mean, honestly, I would rather art forever,
Mm.
because it's, you know, art is forever. Art is
Mhm.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's true. That's true.
Everyone, support your local artists.
Yeah.
Support your starving artists, please.
Yeah.
We
But
need tacos.
we'll go ahead and wrap this up. And Sakairi, I know you kind of jumped in here last minute without much context, but Nate, after this, can you add Sakairi to Big Brain Chat if she wants to join in the future, so that way
Yeah.
she has more context, and we always want more guests on here because we always want these conversations to be full in depth as we can.
Yeah,
But
sure.
yeah, and then but with that being said, Nate, also close us out.
hmm Goodbye, pebbles across all platforms. This has been the Idiots Podcast.